why I don't think that you should have regrets. So speaking of regrets, I was gonna change my shirt, but I decided against it because I think it's great. But anyways, I guess somebody's 10-year-old son did not want this at the thrift store. It's talking about regrets, and I feel like Naruto covers that, you know? But, anyways, enough about that. So, regrets. I don't think you should have regrets because everything is working on your timeline. So, if you're regretting something that happened in the past, that maybe you didn't do something you wanted to do, or maybe you feel like you regret doing something, or you regret wasting time, or you regret staying in the same place for too long, or you regret keeping people around. But I don't think that you should have regrets because everything is working on your timeline. Everyone's timeline is different, first of all. Like, nobody is gonna be in, like, at an age in their life in the same place. I always bring up artists and stuff, but I don't know, it's still, like, applicable to life. Vincent van Gogh did not start painting until he was 27 years old. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's on a different timeline, and everybody learns lessons at different ages, and sometimes sooner in life, sometimes later in life. For example, there's certain things I regret not doing sooner. I'm like, why didn't I just do this sooner? And when I really think about it, I'm like, no, it wasn't like meant for me to do this sooner. I just wasn't in like a place where I was able to, like, just certain circumstances or like whatever, like I just literally wasn't in a place where I was able to. Like, sometimes I wish I started making videos sooner. Even like a year ago, like I was not in the place where I could be making videos like this, or the year before that, or the year before that, like, or the year before that. Like, I just wasn't in the place where I could have. And there's other things like I could think of that I wish I did sooner. Like, sometimes I'm like, ugh, I wish I started college sooner, because I started like a year after my grade, like the people in my grade started, and I was like, ugh, I wish I started going sooner, but I wouldn't have been ready to go sooner. Like, I really needed to take like a gap year for myself, and there's a lot of lessons that I needed to learn and stuff. This is why you shouldn't have regrets, because you're meant to start it when you start it, or when it's meant for you, it will happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be regretful. It would be literally a waste of time. It wasn't meant for you before it happened. You know, whenever that is. It wasn't meant for you, or like you weren't meant for it until you were meant for it. You know, it. And I don't know why it works like that, but, well, I can understand actually why things happen. See, it's funny, if you like reflect on like why, you can understand like why things happen when they do. The timeline like adds up, like when you started something, and how like everything like goes together, so like accordingly it's like, okay, I was obviously meant to do this at this time. Like, everything is just lining up and it just all makes sense. How can you do the things you want to do if you're not ready for them, or if you're not like mentally in a space where you're ready to do them? For me, like with going to college, like starting a year later than everybody, but the year before that, when everybody was starting, I was not in mentally a place where I would have done college successfully. Like, I know I would have possibly dropped out, or possibly just gotten really bad grades because of just like the space that I was in that whole year. So, you know, yeah, I had to like be in a space where I was ready for it, and to be in that space I kind of had to, like, not gonna lie, learn some lessons and stuff. And like I said, that's just an example. You also shouldn't regret the past because, one, it's a waste of time, you can't take it back. but two, the way that it played out was how it was obviously meant to play out. It was obviously fate. Maybe you stay in the same place too long, or in a relationship too long, in a friendship too long, in a toxic dynamic too long, and you regret it, or you regret wasting time in that regard or whatever. But you can't regret it because, one, it doesn't do any good, and two, you can't take back the past. You can only go forward. I think about that a lot. Like, I always remind myself that you can't literally go back, you can only go forward. The past doesn't even exist. You most likely, most definitely, needed to learn some kind of life lesson from that. From my personal experience, I know that that's true. If you wasted time, for example, maybe you needed to waste that time so that you can use your time going forward more productively and successfully. Or maybe you outstayed a friendship or relationship so that you can learn to set boundaries going forward, or to let people go easier going forward, or to learn to catch red flags with people sooner. Or there could be a million reasons. Everybody's situation is so different. There could be literally a million reasons, but take what you can from a situation, learn the lessons that you need to learn, so you can become the best version of yourself, and move on. And don't ruminate. After you take the lessons and you use them and apply them to life going forward, and you keep them in mind and whatever, but don't ruminate on stuff. It's important to heal, of course. Sometimes that does take ruminating to a certain degree, processing stuff, but it's so important to not ruminate on stuff, because you're just giving your energy to people who don't deserve it, number one, and you're just lowering your vibrations for what? It's only doing you harm. There's no benefit in doing that, in ruminating all the time on whatever. It's it really is what it is. I have definitely spent way too much time ruminating in the past, and I've even been regretful of that, ruminating so much on certain things. Besides, I feel I have learned now not to ruminate. I don't regret it. I think I needed that so that I now really try not to ruminate on things and stuff going forward. But it's just prolonging suffering. It's so important to consciously think about your thoughts and be aware of what you're thinking about, and how it's affecting you. If you're ruminating on negative stuff, focusing on negative stuff, you're just it's going to show itself in you. If you feel you stayed too long in some kind of situation, a lesson from that could be that you needed to do that at the time, so that you had the motivation to change. And maybe had you not been in a situation like that, you would not have had the motivation to change. Just another reason to not regret. Maybe you needed that motivation to change yourself. A good way to not ruminate and to not regret is to forgive yourself, or to forgive other people. Maybe you need to forgive yourself for wasting time, or you need to forgive other people for wasting your time, or whatever it is. Or maybe you need to forgive other people for hurting you, or you for putting yourself in situations that are hurting you. It can feel really hard to forgive other people and also to forgive yourself. Both can feel extremely difficult to do. And I personally never understood forgiveness in terms of forgiving people who have done like unforgivable things, or like done things that are just very hurtful, and I'm like, they don't deserve my forgiveness. Like, I don't want to forgive them. Like, I don't want to give them that. You know what I mean? But in doing that, you're just holding on to the hurt, and you're holding on to like all of the negative emotions, like regret and pain. You're just causing more suffering essentially that way. You're not forgiving people who have hurt you or wronged you or whatever for them, for their sake. You're forgiving them for your own sake, for like your own well-being. And eventually I feel like when you do that, you do kind of get to a place where like you really do forgive them genuinely. You can understand sometimes like why people do things that they do that are hurtful to you or whatever, because maybe they had a hard life or been through this or that. And I don't want to ever use excuses for people who do terrible things, because I'm not gonna like excuse their behavior, but at the same time, like, sometimes you can understand why people do things that they do. And to like have an understanding versus to excuse it, I think those are two different things. It can make you have an understanding when like with forgiving people. Like, think about it, like, would you want to be that person? Would you want to live their life? Like, how hurt does somebody have to be to, want to hurt other people? Even if they don't want to, but they're still hurting other people. Like, you have to be a very hurt person. Just be grateful that you don't understand. Like, be grateful that you don't feel that way and that you don't understand. And I don't know, I guess have some level of sympathy. You know the saying, hurt people hurt people. Like, it's true. And whether it's intentional or unintentional, like, bottom line is, like, it happened or whatever. Forgive people for your own peace of mind, so that you can be happy and you can move on, and that you can genuinely get to a place where you do wish that people who have wronged you the best in their life. I think that is a good place to be when you finally feel like, yeah, okay, I do wish them the best. And it can be hard to get to that point, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's not good to wish ill will on other people, even if people have done you wrong. Or like, if you need to forgive yourself, maybe you did something that you regret in the past, like, that applies too. Maybe you need to apologize to someone, or right your wrong, or I don't know. Like, people make mistakes. Like, we're human. I know, like, we're meant to make mistakes in life. Like, that is how we grow and stuff, and people hurt people, and that way people teach people lessons. That's how people learn lessons in life. And although, like, I don't know, it's confusing to me at the same time, but we wouldn't learn lessons if there wasn't a degree of suffering. Not that I'm like okay with it, but you know what I mean. Like, I think it's just a part of being human. I heard once that people hurt people, like, not in this lifetime, like in these bodies, but like people like sign like soul contracts, and then they hurt people in this lifetime, like in their soul contract or something, and then to teach them lessons, like they're doing it out of a place of love. And I don't know how I feel about that. I thought it was really interesting because I'd never heard anything like that before. I still don't know how I feel about it, but I think that it is really interesting. It's a very interesting perspective to have, in my opinion. Sometimes people have to hurt you for you to grow, and I don't know. I know that I know that that's definitely true for me in my life. Bad experiences or people who have hurt me, like, I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for that. It's strange because it's like, in a way, I'm grateful for that. In like a really weird way. It's so weird. Like, obviously, I'm not grateful for like all the suffering that it caused, but it's very strange. Like, I just know that I would not be who I am today if it weren't for that. And I'm not like grateful to the people for doing the things that they did, but to me, but it's like, it's very strange. Like, I don't know. I'm grateful, to be who I am. That's scary. I'm just grateful to be where I am today and the like experiences that have shaped me to be the person I am today. Without them I wouldn't be, and that's what I'm grateful for. And I think everyone should think of things like that. I think everyone should be grateful for the same things. But I'll say, like, if I was stuck in like this like victim mindset of like just like a hateful mindset of, I don't know, being like, oh, I'm the victim, like these people did me so dirty, or these people wronged me so much, or whatever, this bad experiences, and I just so focused on the negative aspects of them and the hateful aspects of them, and I was just so full of regret, and I wished ill will on these people, and I would not be in a space where I could be grateful for who I am today. I wouldn't be who I am if I was like in that space. Also, when you're in that like negative space, like kind of like victim mindset, like I was focusing on all the hurtful things that people have done to you, or how many people have done you dirty, or whatever. Like, when you're in that space focusing on all of that, it would be very easy to become a person who would hurt other people and like continue like the cycle of like hurting people, because you're in such like a space of that only you can be hurt, and everyone's always hurting you, and it's just like a slippery slope. That's why it's so important to shift your focus and to not hold on to resentments and to forgive people. It's about how you think about things. I could easily think about things in a negative way. I'm literally actively choosing to think about things in a positive way, and when you do that, it becomes like you feel genuinely about it. Like, I'm not just saying this, like, I genuinely feel this way. And even if you're like lying to yourself at first about forgiving people or forgiving yourself, and eventually you will mean it. It just becomes your reality. Like, what you're focusing on becomes your reality. So yeah. I fixed my hair like a million times in this video. I'm sorry. My hair is way too long. I want a haircut, but I also do not. So anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. So yeah. Don't be regretful.